Welcome back to another day of fun. We are currently on day 5 of this project, so don't forget to be recording your time both for the in-class portion and any time you spend outside of class today in your art journal. All right, so we are kind of at a point now where we have all the tools that we need in order to get this project done. Now we know we're going to make at least 3 of these photos, so once we're finished with one photo, which could be today, it could be next class, I'm not really sure. It's going to kind of depend on where we're at. But we have 5 more days to get the 3 in total photos done. It does go faster with each one just because now you know what you're doing, right? Anyway, when you do finish one of them, you're going to want to make sure that you save it. Right? Go to File, Save. And then another good idea would be just to put it in your art journal right away. So whether you go into your art journal and go to Image and you upload it from your computer, or maybe you screenshot it right in Pixlr E and copy it to your clipboard and paste it into your art journal. However you want to do that, totally cool. But I would just say as soon as you have that first image done, I would get it into your art journal right away, just in case. One of the worst things about being an art teacher is getting messages from students or hearing about the fact that like their art project was done or it was super close to done and something terrible happened in the 11th hour and now it's ruined and they have to start over. I feel really bad about that, but like, you know, there's not much I can do on my end except for give you guys the warning that as soon as something is done, photograph it, save it, screenshot it, do whatever you got to do. Get that photo in your art journal as soon as you can after it's completed, just so that doesn't happen to you. All right? Then, of course, as soon as you're ready, go ahead and start on that next photo. If you're needing a quick refresher on how to get it into Pixlr and how to get started, turning it black and white, posterizing it, feel free to pop back to previous days in our landing page and rewatch those videos, or you could just quickly read the directions too if you don't feel like watching those demo videos. But it is officially a work day. So as soon as we talk a little bit about Andy Warhol, if you would like your own personalized breakout room, of course, in class we can do that. But let's learn a little bit more about Andy Warhol first. So here we go. Who was he? Who was this guy? Well, Andy Warhol, he was one of the most popular artists of his time. And so Andy Warhol lived between 1928 and 1987. So as far as like the history of time, he's a more recent famous artist, right? Like actually he was alive only for a few years while I was alive though. Like, so, it's not that long ago when you think of the history of time. His pop avant-garde style launched his status as a famous artist into the 1960s. When he was just 8, Andy Warhol, he got really, really sick. He was in bed for months. Can you imagine that? Months in bed. Whew. His mom was a skillful artist, and while he was bored and healing, she decided, hey, I'm going to teach this kid art, right? Might as well. He's just sitting in bed. He's bored. Might as well teach him some art. Smart thinking, Mom. She decided to teach him art. He loved drawing. He loved photography most, and he also loved film. He even set up a dark room in his basement. Now, if you don't know what a dark room is, it's basically it's a room that's really dark, and it's where you would process the photographs. So like where it would turn from film to an actual like photo like you'd see on the wall. So that's what a dark room is. Let's learn more about him. More about Andy. Sadly, Andy's dad passed away when he was only 14 years old. Okay, so that's going to be, maybe your age, give or take a few, depending on how old you are. So really sad. But his dad believed in his art so much. I feel like this is so empowering. He believed in his art so much that he wrote on in his will for his entire life savings to be spent on Andy's college education at an art school. He's like, he literally put everything into his son. Like, this money, it's all for you to get an art education. Unbelievable. That's amazing. He decided to go to Carnegie Institute for Technology to study pictorial design. After he graduated in 1949, he moved back to New York and landed a job as a commercial artist for a tiny little magazine. You've probably never heard of it, called Glamour. Maybe you have heard of it. Maybe you've seen that if you've ever gone grocery shopping, like in the checkout lines, they'll often have magazines. If not, keep an eye open. You'll probably see Glamour magazines near those checkout lines. In the late 1950s, Warhol began painting more. And in 1961, he debuted the concept of pop art. We've heard of that before, haven't we? Paintings that focused on mass-produced commercial goods. In 1962, he exhibited the now iconic painting of the Campbell soup can. So you've probably seen these paintings at some point. It's super iconic, and it's just like all of these Campbell soup cans, you know, with all their different labels, different types and stuff like that. These small canvases, works of everyday consumer products, created a major stir in the art world, right? Because there's some people that really have very, like, this is art, this is not art. And they have their ideas of what constitutes as art or good art. Anyway, that bringing both Warhol and pop art into the national spotlight for the first time. Some of Warhol's other famous commercial images include Coca-Cola bottles, vacuum cleaners, hamburgers. As Warhol himself put it, once you got pop, like once you understood it, you could never see a sign the same way again. And once you thought pop, you could never see America the same way again. Basically, it's this understanding of consumerism, right? Like understanding that at every moment, if we're looking at something that has been put out by the media, like we're consuming and there's a message, and typically there's a goal, an end goal of somehow retrieving your money and putting it in their pockets, right? So that whole commercialism is a part of that too. So yeah, just super, super interesting guy wanting to kind of change the face of the art world. And he did. Very cool. So that's where we're stopping for today, but that doesn't mean that the art stops too. It is now your work time. So make sure you're working on that artwork at least a half hour outside of class. Be recording that time in your art journal. And don't forget, as soon as you are done with one of these images, save it and or screenshot it. Either way, whether you saved it or screenshotted it, we want to get that image into your art journal under entry 1, okay, our Warhol graphic art project. Get it in there, and then as soon as you're ready, start uploading your next photo into Pixlr E. Make sure this time it doesn't have to be a self-portrait. It has to be school appropriate, and just, I would still make sure it's not overly busy. As you've kind of realized by now, if there's a ton going on, like there's 10 family members or something in this photo, it's going to take a lot of effort. So just keep that in mind as well as you are selecting your following photos. Of course, school appropriate always with anything, right? But have fun, and I can't wait to see what you all create.